Hey guys, you're watching the Dota Weekly Show, your source of news, mechanics, and whatever else that's interesting. This week we'll be talking about WDC and my thoughts on who's actually going to take the tournament. We'll talk about the Cassio Cup, which is happening this Sunday as a one-day tournament. For the mechanics section, I'll talk about spells that deals direct peer damage and how that's different from direct HP removal. And lastly, for the interesting happening of the week, I'll talk about two animes that I think you should follow. And also, of course, I'll be giving away the Riddle solution and announcing who was the winner of that Riddle challenge. Without further ado, this is the Dota Weekly Show. It's a Dota Weekly Show!
Yay!
Today's October 31st, 2011. I'm Luminous, your host for the Dota Weekly Show, and let's get right into the news. First news I want to talk about is WDC, and that is going to be occurring on November 11th, 2011. A lot of 11s. And, well, it's going to be happening really soon. The prize pool is $50,000. A lot of prize money at stake. They haven't released the official participant list yet. But once that's released, I'll let you guys know. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about who I think will be winning the tournament. If you asked me this question last year, I'll be like, oh yeah, a Chinese team will win it for sure. This year, I can't say that with much confidence. I was so root for the Chinese because I'm a Chinese fanboy Dota, Chinese Dota fanboy, but I'm not too sure whether they'll be winning it. I can't say that with a lot of confidence, and mostly because lately I've been noticing a lot of Chinese teams, they are really hesitant, especially when they have advantage, they don't go press for it. And that might be fine if you're playing against fellow Chinese teams, because both teams are really, or I guess Chinese teams in general, are just defensive in nature. But if you play against some of the more aggressive European teams, if you play against some of the more aggressive Southeast Asian teams, you are going to get into trouble. And a lot of Chinese teams been dropping some games here and there against, European teams, against Southeast Asian teams. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm still rooting for DK, which by the way has been a powerhouse lately in the Chinese Dota scene. They won the last 4 tournaments, and that's a huge accomplishment. They're looking like LGD and eHome in 2010. They're looking really strong at the moment, but they have still yet to prove themselves in the big stage. And WDC is on the horizon, so let's see if DK will be taking it. They recently won the GK Cup and about 10,000, I believe, in terms of dollars. So they're rich. So hopefully they could carry it out, but we'll have to wait and see. We don't know who's going to be winning the WDC. Second big piece of the news is that Cassio Cup is happening this Sunday. If you don't know what Cassio Cup is, it is a one-day tournament being hosted by DotaCommentaries.com. It's a 16-team tournament, yes. And it's going to be all the way best of 1 to the finals, which is going to be held in best of 3. We have invited some of the big-name teams. Na'Vi is going to be showing up for sure. We're going to have EMC most likely. We're going to have the OMYM very likely. So you're going to see some really good team. Also, you're going to see some up-and-coming teams. We have also invited a good mix of newcomers. So it's going to be a good mix of veterans and new talented players. And there's going to be music. There's going to be Nebula and myself casting it. And more importantly, there's going to be really good games. So if you guys can make it, it's going to be 14:30 CET on this Sunday, November 6th. You can find the stream live on DotaCommentaries.com, or I'll put the link of my stream on the description box. The winner will get a $400 prize pool. It's just winner takes all, and it's a one-day tournament. So looking forward to casting it. Looking forward to you guys showing up and supporting us there. Really appreciate for you guys what you guys have done for us, and of course we're trying to give back to the community however we can. So that concludes the news of this week, but I do suggest you go on Ghost Gamer. There's a lot of interesting thread nowadays. There's one on there's some flame issues going on in Chinese land, and a lot of people are changing back and forth in terms of words. There's a really nice interview on Yuru, DK's Yuru, so it's worth a reading. So if you're interested in that, I suggest you go check it out on ghostgamer.net. And that's it for the news, so let's go on to the mechanics. For this week's mechanic, we'll talk about the similarities and differences of pure damage spells, such as Impetus, Obsidian Destroyer Orb, Brain Sap, versus HP removal spells, such as EMP, Nightmare, and Wave of Terror. I'll talk about the similarities first. For one, neither pure damage and also HP removal spells can be amped up to do more damage. So it doesn't matter if they're Decreptified or if they have Amplify damage from Slaughter. Your HP removal spells and your pure damage spells will not do any extra damage.
Of course, by the same token, HP removal and pure damage are not reduced by anything, such as armor, magic resistant of that sort as well. So they can't be amped up, nor they can be blocked down. Now this is where the similarity of HP removal and pure damage kind of ends. But 99% Dota, we are looking at the similar aspects. There's going to be very, very few legit cases where the differences actually matter. But for the sake of discussion, let's talk about those differences. If we look at the interaction of pure damage and HP removal spells, HP removal spells goes through magical immunity such as BKB, whereas pure damage gets completely blocked by it. So imagine, let's say, Obsidian Destroyer hits, that gets completely blocked by BKB. However, if you could cast Terror, if you cast EMP, that will go through BKB. Now, of course, magical immunity a lot of times prevent you to click on the enemy with a lot of spells. So if you try to cast Nightmare, which is another HP removal spell, you can't because they're magic immune and you can't click on it. But if you have some AoE HP removal spells such as EMP or Tear, like I just said, that will go through the BKB. Same thing with invulnerability. You could still remove HP from enemy units, invulnerable or not, provided you could target them. And this is why EMP Tornado works. When they're flying up in the air, they're technically invulnerable, but again, the EMP will target in an area and that enemy unit will lose HP. Same thing if you tear invulnerable unit, they will lose HP as well. So that's kind of a pretty big difference between the two. Pure damage is damage, and that sounds really, really like duh, but that comes to be important when we're dealing with trigger healing. And this is one of the reasons why I made this topic for this week's Dota Weekly Show, because I made a mistake in one of my recent commentary. I've mistakenly said that Destroyer Orb hits and Enchantress Impetus hits goes through Trigger Heal, which is Spectre's Dispersion, and that's completely wrong. It doesn't go through it. It's just a normal interaction with it. However, HP removal completely bypassed it. How Trigger Heal works, it makes you take that damage first, and then you heal it back for most cases. But since you're not taking any damage in the first place from HP removal, you're not going to heal anything back. However, for pure damage, no matter what damage you're dealing him to, whether you're dealing magical damage, physical damage, or pure damage, they're still taking damage. And when they're taking damage, they lose the HP and then they heal it back. So again, that's a huge difference that actually matters a lot in Dota, where you have HP removal being to bypass things like Bristleback, or dispersion, whereas pure damage do not bypass it. They are fully affected by those trigger healing spells. So to recap really quickly, the big similarity is that you cannot amplify HP removal or pure damage. You cannot block it or resist it. But the big difference is that one is affected by trigger healing, which of course we're talking about the pure damage, and one is completely bypassing it, which is the HP removal. So a little bit confusing. I hope the visual kind of helped out along the way. And that's it for this week's mechanics.
And that's it for the mechanic. Let's go into the interesting happenings of this week. Now, before I go into the riddle, and I'm sure you guys are really patiently waiting for the riddle, I want to spend a minute or two talking about two of my favorite animes this season that I'm following, and I really recommend you guys to follow as well. First one is Guilty Crown. Absolutely gorgeous background animation, character animation. Like, the animation department, top notch. 10 out of 10. Really good. I would just watch it for that reason alone, but that's not it. The original soundtrack, absolutely beautiful. I have the insert song, I have the ending song, and the opening song of the anime just continuously looping on YouTube. It's just absolutely gorgeous to listen on. Just like watch the anime for 4 minutes. That's all I ask you. If you like it, keep watching. If you don't, stop. It's really a good anime. The plot itself, it's kind of cliche. It's it's not as strong, but the other two aspects just pulls this anime along. It's probably not going to be the best anime of the year or the season by any stretch, but I personally really enjoy it, and I think you guys should check it out for that reason. Second anime you want to check out is Mirai Nikki, or Future Diary. That's the English name of it. And it's a really interesting plot. It's basically 12 people that has the ability to read their own future, and the objective is to kill each other. And you could kind of see the problem, right? How are you going to kill someone that could see their own future? So you gotta mind game your opponent, you gotta outposition your opponent, you gotta like strive for the late game. So I mean, like, it's really bloody. It's really bloody. There's a crazy ass bitch in there, but it's so fun. The plot is really good. It's really fun. So that's Mirai Nikki, and Guilty Crown. Really recommend you guys to check those two anime out. I really enjoy it so far. Okay, let's go to the riddle portion. And I received about 500 PM, give or take, in terms of answers. And there was only one winner. And the winner is BMS Thad. I hope I'm pronouncing that one right. Probably not. And the answer to riddle is Omnislash. So let's look at the riddle real fast, and then if you look at the riddle and then you think about Juggernaut, you can see how most of the lines, or in fact all of the lines, correspond to Juggernaut. The Sage Magic refers to the fact that he can spin, and that will give him magic immunity. The fact that he cleave through the thickest armor is referred to if you move Juggernaut around. He had one of his lines, or one of his soundtracks, voice, whatever. It says, "I could cut through the thickest armor," and that's where I got the inspiration is from there. No wound could stop him is referring to the healing ward, 5% for 25 seconds. That heals way over 100% in terms of perfect health. And of course, the last two lines refers to the ultimate, strikes with inhumane strength and speed and strength. So of course, Omni Slash gives you extra slashes when you put more attack speed into it. And you might be thinking, well, doesn't those lines also apply to Nyx? Apply to Huskar and a truckload of other heroes? Yeah, they could apply to it, and it can be interpreted in many different ways. But you guys cannot really agree on a single skill. There's no 100% without a doubt that points to one single spell, right? So why does it point to Omni Slash, and why is the answer for the Omni Slash? A lot of you guys just totally ignore the uppercase letters, and those letters cannot be ignored, and they should not be ignored. And there's a pattern, there's a sequence in there, and the sequence is Fibonacci's sequence. If you don't know what Fibonacci sequence is, just take a quick minute to Google it. Or the sequence is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and 34. I think that's the sequence. Yeah, if you want to know a little bit more about Fibonacci sequence, just Google it real fast. You're supposed to identify the sequence, and you guys are thinking like, WTF, right? That's too hard. Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that BMS Thad actually got the answer. I expected no one to get the answer. I'm really surprised when he sent me the correct answer. So if you look at Fibonacci sequence, and then you correspond it to the word placement in the riddle, and then you extract out the capital letter, you would get 9 letters. Here they are. If you rearrange those 9 letters, you get Omni Slash. I know, again, you guys are WTF, that's too hard, blah, blah, blah. Hey, but someone got it, so more power to that guy. And that's the answer to the riddle. So, there you go. Now, in DWS23, I'll be randomly generating the next beta key to give away. And also, I'll be giving yet another riddle next week. So, look forward to that as well. So, I think that's it for this week's Dota Weekly Show. So, 2 things to remind you guys. Support us this Sunday on Cassio Cup. Nebula and I will be casting again. It's going to be in 14 CET, November 6th. And you can find the stream on DotaCommentaries.com. And also, go check out Guilty Crown. Go check out Mirai Nikki. Just, give those two anime just one single episode. And you could decide whether you like it or not after that single episode. Really, really cool animes to check out. So, that's it from me this week. Hope you guys enjoyed, of course, the news, the mechanics, and that little rant. And until next time, as always, this is Luminous, signing off. GG, guys.